Good afternoon and welcome to our council meeting for May 5th, 2025 at 4:30 here. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation District 4, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We're making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. Agenda in front of you there, moved by Councillor Nesbitt, that the agenda be adopted as amended by moving 8C Bylaw 2516, the procedure bylaw, to 6A, and by renumbering the remaining agenda items accordingly, and further by adding 6E, the appointment of interim chief administrative officer. Any questions? All those in favor? I need a mover for this motion here that the minutes from the regular council meeting held April 21st, 2025 be approved. Mover for that motion, Councillor Idris. All those in favor? Carried. I need a mover for this motion here that the following items of correspondence be received as information, updates on council conferences and or workshops and notes on council committee, April 15th, 2025. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay. Not really council conferences or workshops, but we're addressed in our Bandits attire today because the Brooks Bandits are playing the Penticton Vs in a crucial series. So we're here to show our support for the Brooks Bandits. They lead in the series 2-0, and as a hockey fan of the Bandits, I'm a little surprised that they're up 2-0, but I'll take it because we're almost like the city of Edmonton, the city of champions here. Yeah. Anybody else have anything on council conferences or workshops? Okay. Okay, to the motion. Go ahead.
Just a note that myself and Councillor Godinov, I believe we were the only two attended a prayer service yesterday that was put by the Filipino Community Association for the incident that happened in Vancouver last Saturday. I know Council have issued a statement in last week. Just wanted to reiterate that it was a very sad incident, and we have our hearts and our prayers with the community, and the service was very, very beautiful, and a number of people who are non-Filipino citizens also came, and it was good to see the community together.
Yeah, good. I'll mention too, I was at the citizenship ceremony last Wednesday in Brooks. 58 people became Canadians, officially became Canadians, and they were pretty well from all over the world, from Syria, Somalia, Eritrea, Brazil, Colombia, on and on it goes. So we welcomed 58 people, and if you've never been to one of those before, it's a very patriotic afternoon there. Thanks to administration, Amy Romans there for organizing that event and making it what it was that afternoon too. I'll give another plug in here too for Brooks Rotary. We had over 320 participants in the annual Rotary Pump It Up run at Dinosaur Park, and what's interesting about that is half the people were from outside the region, which is good for tourism. We used to fill that up with about 500 at one point, but after the pandemic it went down. We're starting to build it up again, and the runners are just enthused about running through Dinosaur Park, especially in areas that are prohibited by a lot of the general public there too. So
hot day.
Yeah, it was a hot day. Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Wardrop.
I actually will mention that the Welcoming and Inclusive Committee met for the first time last Wednesday. So just so that everyone is aware, that was our first meeting. Director Tiffin did a great job kicking it off and kind of welcoming our new members, and our inclusion coordinator, Robin, did another fantastic job as well. And yeah, it was really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can get done together, and of course that'll be in my next update. But the first meeting happened and it was a great success.
Oh, good. Okay, Councillor Jessica.
Well, we're getting a little bit off conferences and workshops. I'll just mention that the Heritage, I don't think I brought it up before, the Heritage Fair at Griffin Park was a tremendous event again, and even if you don't have kids in there or attending, it's worth taking in as an annual event.
Okay, good. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for, we're into the procedural bylaw here. Need a mover for this motion here, that bylaw 2516 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 2201 being a bylaw to regulate the proceedings of council and committee meetings, be introduced and read a first time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Goodenough. Manager of Administration, Amy Romans.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor and Council. Administration is proposing an amendment to the city's procedural bylaw to align with current city practices and the Municipal Government Act, or MGA, which outlines specific requirements if council and/or committee meetings are to be conducted electronically, and what must be done for council members to join an in-person meeting electronically. The MGA also states that municipalities must provide an opportunity for citizens to participate in a public hearing electronically as well, and how they can participate. Administration will be further reviewing the procedural bylaw in the near future to ensure it aligns with current city practices and legislative amendments. However, due to the prioritized nature of these specific amendments, the amending bylaw is being brought forward to council at this time, and administration is recommending that council provide 3 readings and adopt the bylaw.
Okay, we need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2516 be read a second time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, any questions on the procedural bylaw? Okay, all those, for the first, well, we have to be read and introduced the first time. Okay, I think we passed that, right? Yeah, okay, moved, read a second time. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2516 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. All those in favor? Bill is approved of that too. Okay, need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2516 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 2201 being a bylaw to regulate the proceedings of council and council committees be read a 3rd time and adopted. Mover for that motion? Bill Prentice. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, good. Okay, need a mover for this motion here that council approve the request for nonprofit property tax exemptions for the following organizations: the Rehabilitation and Employment for Development Independent Society, or otherwise known as READY, and the Crossroads Clinic Association. Mover for that motion, Councillor Goodenough. Okay, Director of Finance, Bill McKinnon.
Through your worship, at the April 29th council committee meeting, council was briefed on the legislative framework in relation to exemptions for property tax, such as the ones that are before council tonight. Council reviewed the the whole definition of public benefit. The regulations were explained at the committee of the whole. The committee was also advised that to date, council in the city have not adopted a formal process. And administration has been dealing with these as one-offs with specific reports coming to council. Part of what the council committee directed staff to do was, again, bring forward back an internal process in terms of a Brooks-specific application process in regards to what's referred to as community organization property tax exemptions. Of course, we'll be following the regulations and seeking input from council on specific areas. That will be reported to council at a later date. But to deal with the 2 recent applications that have come in, the council committee has recommended to council that these exemptions be granted to the 2 community groups.
Any questions? Councillor Idris.
So on the second application, which was with the second application, there is a question that says portion of the property held by the organization. It says all, but then the map shows that it's not. With the application not having an exact what is the location, how are we going to?
So, as I attempted to articulate at the committee meeting, these will be vetted again with the assessor and myself, and any adjustments, errors, omissions, or change in timing related to specific space or move-in dates, move-in date specifically, they would be adjusted on the exemption. So they will be granted exemption for the period of time they're physically located in that property.
And when it's not a full property, doesn't need to be in the motion itself?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Goodenough.
Just for curiosity, how do you base the assessment? Is it, going forward, I guess, would it be based on square footage and then you divide it by their property taxes? And how does that work exactly?
Assuming that if they own the property, then the total space that's being used for the exempted purpose would be exempt. So it's only the portion that's allowable under the regs that would be exempted from taxation. If they were doing commercial activities or renting to a third party that did not have exemption status, they would still be responsible for that portion of the taxes. So again, annually, the assessor and finance would validate the information to determine what the basis of the taxation would be.
And that would be based on, does that include parking too, or just the
It
office
would be,
space?
the assessor would be doing it on total property valuation, which would include land improvements, the whole parcel,
Et cetera.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion here that council approve the EMERG consulting fees associated with the NREMP Phase 1A for the onboarding and integration of the City of Brooks into the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership in the amount of $60,000. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, Deputy Fire Chief Barry Yokoyama. Good afternoon, Barry.
Good afternoon. Through the chair to your worship and councillors. On April the 7th, City Council approved the City of Brooks becoming a member of the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership, as well as an active partner within the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan. As a result, the city's CAO and fire chief attended a Regional Emergency Advisory Committee meeting on April the 15th that outlined an onboarding proposal to properly integrate the City of Brooks into the plan. The proposal laid out the step-by-step process on how this will be achieved, who is involved, the required time commitment, and financial costs to the City of Brooks. The proposal for EMERG Consulting, Ron Robinson, is known as the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan Phase 1A. Onboarding and integration of the City of Brooks with a targeted completion date of April 2026. The consulting fee to perform said integration is $60,000 plus applicable taxes. It is proposed that the City of Brooks covers this expense, that EMERG Consulting was utilized by the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership for implementation of the NREMP Phase 1A with great satisfaction and success. The desired outcome is the continuation of a long-term, well-established working relationship with all of the city's urban and rural municipal partners. The project has a one-time cost of $60,000 spread over 2 years, 2025 and 2026. In the event of a disaster occurring, significant benefits are realized by having the local emergency partners and their resources directly involved in helping to manage the response on a regular or regional basis. As per First Quarter Variance Report 2025 presented to Council on April the 21st, the City anticipates a year-end surplus which would allow for this expenditure to be funded. Administration recommends that council approve EMERG consulting fees associated with the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan, Phase 1A, for the onboarding and integration of the City of Brooks into the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership in the amount of $60,000. And I can answer any questions if anybody has any. Thanks.
Any questions? Councillor Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Mary. So they're saying NREMP Phase 1A. So is that the entire process with the $60,000, or will there be additional phases afterwards?
Through the chair to Councillor Jessica. I think this is just it. The $60,000 is the one-time fee, just to get in there with the County of Newell for this.
Councillor Goodenough.
I can respond to this. Because the process was already moving forward with our surrounding communities, CAO Parker, myself, and Kevin, Chief Swanson, we attended the meeting it was a day session of training. And so one of the reasons why they're calling it Phase 1A is because now we're being included into it, where originally we weren't a part of that. So this is our opt-in. So this would be our portion to share in the expansion of this partnership. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Idris.
I have a couple of questions, and maybe some of those questions you want, but I'm going to try. Okay? So if I understand this correctly, from the last meeting, the committee meeting, and from reading here, this process was going without us, and there was phase one and phase 2. Okay? Now we are asking them, because we are joining in, we are asking them to repeat phase 1, so that's why they are calling it phase 1A. Are we good till here? Because I still have some questions.
Through the chair to Councillor Idris, I believe the 1A is required because they want to include the City of Brooks into this program plan.
Okay. So again, if I understand this correctly, again from the last meeting and from the reading, the phase 1, when it was done, it costed about $70,000.
Through the chair to Councillor Idris, I'm not sure what the initial cost was.
Okay.
Unless Councillor Goodenough might know.
That's above my pay grade. I don't know.
Okay. So again, all of this is based on the last committee meeting in the reading I have here. So phase 1 was with all these municipalities, and it's costed about $70,000. And now we are asking them to repeat it to a degree, and it's going to cost $60,000. Like that is a lot. If the review of all of the emergency plans of all these municipalities, and the integrating all of these emergency plans of all these municipalities, and creating the one plan that covers all of these municipalities, costed $70,000. And now we are asking to integrate Brooks, which again involves looking into all of our plans and then making it integrate here. I think $60,000 is a lot of money. I'm going to ask another question. Did we try to find another consultant?
I can't say we've looked for another consultant through the mayor. But this is, just looking for his name here. The consulting agency with Ron Swanson is out of Medicine Hat. He's got years of expertise of emergency service. He comes highly recommended throughout Alberta and Canada as one of the top-notch guys. So this is the one that we've gone with, but no, we didn't look for another.
Okay. I think it's expensive. I think it's an important work.
Yeah,
When I think about it logically, which is looking at all of the emergency plans of 5 different municipalities, bringing it together, $70,000, and now integrating just one more municipality another 60,000.
Yeah, Councillor Idris, I think the next motion kind of takes care of the expense on that, eh?
That is the motion.
The one after this one talks about the funding of it and how it's going to be funded.
It's expensive.
Yeah, but the next motion will explain how it's going to be funded. Yeah. Does that help? Probably not until you see the motion and go through that.
Okay.
Okay. We can surprise you when we get to that if you want, or, yeah. Yeah. Anything else on that then? So your point is you think it's too expensive? Okay, that's fine, yeah, okay. Councillor Wardrobe.
Director McKinnon, are there, sorry, this might have been asked before, but are there ongoing expenses, or there will be ongoing expenses to this?
Through the chair again, my understanding is, maybe I'll just try to recap, is Phase 1 was initiated, a consultant was hired. I believe that 70,000 is referred to was the net cost. There was additional funding that wasn't from the partners. So that number is probably underestimated. I believe there may be another motion dealing with, so there will be another motion, perhaps. It would be, I would suggest through the chair that that motion get on the floor for council's maybe alleviated by some of the financial pressures this item may be causing currently. So I'll leave it like that for now. And yes, there will be ongoing costs related to Phase 2 and potentially ongoing costs to implement some of the recommendations coming out of sort of a mini service review. But again, those are the normal processes, and administration would bring them back through budget deliberations as potential changes in service levels or new initiatives. Those are yet to be determined, and that's partly what the consultant work will be identifying is investment opportunities for the community to enhance emergency management services on a regional basis.
And Councillor Idris.
Just to be clear, I'm not like at this time I'm not thinking about Phase 2 or others. It's just that when I read the proposal, and actually the proposal even identify number of days and all of the work that's going to be needed to do this, and what are we buying for that $60,000? I think it's expensive.
Okay.
And I think it's, again, sorry, I think it's, especially with amounts like this, I think it's a good practice to have more than one proposal.
Okay, Councillor Goodenough.
Sorry, I just want to follow up with your comment there. Like, you went through the NREP proposal, like the 100-page document?
The summary of the
Oh,
proposal.
okay.
It's in the package.
Because in the in the bigger package, sorry, and you wouldn't have got that. Council might probably not receive that, but it does go through quite in depth of everything that we're getting in this partnership of working together with the county. So just wanted to. There's a lot of work there.
Okay, Councillor Idris.
I'm not talking about the partnership. It's important work. It is, I'm thinking, why didn't we do it till now to have an integrated emergency response plan? The question is about the cost.
I think we always worked together with the county in Newell there. I think this formalizes it. Am I right there, Barry?
Through the chair to Mayor Petrie, yes, this is for us to actually have a good partnership with the County of Newell.
Yeah, we've always worked together with them. I'll give you an example. I think, was it not last summer, the summer before, we had that wildfire out of Patricia, the grass fire, and it could have threatened even the city of Brooks at that time if the winds would have changed, and we would have maybe had to evacuate, some people. But between you guys and what we have with the County of Newell and the RCMP and everybody else, we all worked together on that there. Yeah, okay. Okay, Councillor Jessica.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I might add is, okay, so we're kind of looking at a couple of, I think I'm seeing this in different directions. And the one would be the fact that it wasn't looked at with more than one consultant. It might be hard to do that under the circumstances because you have one consultant that has very good credentials, plus has done the process already. To go through another consultant and have him essentially start from scratch, I don't know if that would be cost effective. I guess the other way you might approach this is, are you thinking or suggesting we go back to that consultant and ask him to justify the cost?
I don't know. That's the answer.
Okay, I'm going to call the question on here because maybe the next motion will kind of alleviate some of those concerns there. Okay, all in favor, I'll repeat the motion here too. Moved by Councillor Jessica that Council approve the EMERG consulting fees associated with the NREMP Phase 1A for the onboarding and integration of the City of Brooks into the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership in the amount of $60,000. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Just one? I voted for. Okay, yeah, okay, passed, okay, carried. I'm watching the clock here because we have a public hearing at 5 o'clock here. Need a mover for this motion here, that the EMERG consulting fees in the amount of $60,000 associated with the NREMP Phase 1A for the onboarding and integration of the City of Brooks into the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership be funded through the County and Newell's Regional Enhancement Funding allocated for the City of Brooks, and that administration send a letter to the County and Newell requesting approval for the funding of the project. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. Okay, from administration, Amy Romans.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor and Council. In the past, the County of Newell has allocated funding for the urban centers within its boundaries to be utilized for projects throughout the region that would enhance the community. There is currently $273,000 allocated to the city that remains in this fund, and staff met with county representatives last week to discuss the possibility of the consulting fees being funded through this funding. Therefore, administration is recommending the EMERG consulting fees are funded by the county's regional enhancement funding, and that administration draft a letter to the County of Newell requesting approval to access the funds for this project.
Okay, any questions? So that basically says we're getting, between Amy and Bill, whatever, we're getting the money from the county for the $60,000 for the funding on that, right?
Worship based on their approval, of course. Right.
Their approval, yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. Oh, we can maybe go through one more here too. Okay. I need a mover for this motion here that council direct administration to waive applying penalties for late payment of property taxes and utilities in the event of a major postal service. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, Finance McKinnon.
And through your worship, everyone would recall in late 2024, there was postal service disruption, labor disputes. They're rearing their head again. The process basically means the unions will be in strike position again on May 22nd. Canada Post has advised and advocated to all customers that alternative mechanisms be implemented and be aware of the potential disruptions. In terms of the city, we would again experience disruptions specifically related to potential ratepayers paying their utility bills and or tax bills. The good news is both those billings will be out well before the strike deadline if there is any labor disputes. So the bills will be out, and then the dilemma happens if it's a ongoing long disruption in service levels in terms of Canada Post. Does council wish to be proactive and give administration the directives to waive penalties? I know that's a tough situation to put council in, but again, the not having that in place last time meant that council, given some of the neighboring municipalities did waive penalties, and then council thought there was inequities. Penalties were waived, and there was significant administrative work to reverse and do all that work. So administration, if you go to our website currently, you'll be well aware that we've been advocating for ratepayers to sign up for electronic receipt of billings, whether it's the tax bill and or utility bills. We'll continue that advocacy campaign, hopefully get people on online payments in addition. But In the interim, we're just being proactive and planning if there is a labor disruption at Canada Post after May 22nd. The way the report's written, if it's a short labor disruption, we probably would not waive penalties, but this will buy us an action plan to, again, come back to council closer to that date with, based on council's direction tonight, on a firm action plan of what the triggers would be to specifically waive. Again, the strike could start as early as May 22nd, 12 midnight, so 23rd for all intents and purposes. We would then be advising council based on the duration of the strike whether we would be imposing or not imposing the actual penalties, but some indication would be helpful at this point.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for being proactive. That kind of saves us some issues down the road if we do get into a strike there. And I know our communications department has been working really hard trying to get people connected with e-billing and sending out the message that it is still their responsibility to pay the bill. And we'll work with that either through e-billing. And as I've often said, I'm connected with e-billing and where they directly take the money out of my bank account every month, which makes it really simple there. And if somebody is having a problem connecting with e-billing, just coming into the office there, they'll guide you through that process there. But it's a good way to do that. Now, I know some people like to have the hard copy of that, but we'll work with them. But it's still their responsibility. They can come in to City Hall to pick up that bill, but they still have to pay for it. We will give them a little flexibility in not charging any late fees this time around. So hopefully it's not a long strike. Okay, any other questions on this one? Okay, everybody in favor of this here then? Okay, passed. Okay, it's 5 o'clock here. And we have Gavin online there too. Okay, I'd like to call this public hearing to order at 5:01 p.m. and we'll get an explanation of the proposed bylaw. Gavin.
Through the Chair to Mayor and Council, Bylaw 2511 is being considered tonight for a public hearing, which proposes to redesignate a portion of the northeast of 33, Township 18, Range 14, west of the 4th, from public recreation and open space to commercial general. As per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, a public hearing must be held prior to Council's decision on a bylaw to rezone land. At the time of writing this report, no comments were received in favor or in opposition of the proposal. This is a 0.77 acre publicly designated property made up of 2 titles. It sits east of College Drive East on the south side of Castles Place East. It was declared surplus land by council at the March 17th meeting. Castles Place East is a commercially oriented area of development. The lot is located within the Southeast Sector Area Structure Plan. The land is identified on map 4. The proposed land use is highway commercial land. This designation is therefore in alignment with the area structure plan. The decision on the proposed rezoning should be evaluated based on the suitability of land for commercial purposes. There are no financial impacts to the City of Brooks for this redesignation. And this change loosely is connected to Council's focus on economic growth, investment attraction, as well as future development. This evening, recommendation is for the passing of second and third reading on Bylaw 2511.
Okay, thank you, Gavin. Okay, any person speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw? I see none. Person speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw? I see none. Final comments, Gavin?
Yes, there is a step or two after this. We will have to subdivide one of the titles off of a few remnant parcels around the Francophone school. That process is underway and should take care of itself in short time.
Okay, thank you. I adjourn the public hearing at 5:04 p.m. Okay. Thank you, Gavin. Back to our regular agenda here. I need a mover for this motion here, that Doug Legore be appointed as the interim chief administrative officer, effective immediately. A mover for that motion, Councillor Wardrop. Just to a little background on Doug Legore. He has over 40 years of experience in municipal government as a highly respected senior leader. His high-level service to various municipal associations has earned Doug a Queen's Jubilee Medal and Platinum Medal, an honorary membership for a Life Award from the Canadian Association of Municipal Management, a Distinguished Service Award from the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, and the Dedicated Chief Administrative Officer Award from the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association and the Society of Local Government Managers. Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, okay, this is bylaw 2511. I need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2511 be read a second time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Idris. Okay, I guess anything else from you, Gavin, on this one here? This is the one you were talking about before.
Nothing further.
Go ahead.
Nothing further. No.
Try it again.
Nothing further.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2511, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to amend bylaw number 1412, being a land use bylaw, be read a third time and adopted. Mover for that motion, Councillor Juska. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion here, that bylaw number 2507, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to provide for the regulating and controlling of animals, be introduced and read a first time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. Manager of Administration, Amy Romans.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor and Council. The updated animal control bylaw was attached for Council's information. Minor changes have been made to the regulations that were approved for the pilot program that was in place for the past 2 years, including an increase in the permitted number of hens. Properties under 2,000 meters squared can have up to 6 hens, and properties over 2,000 meters squared can have up to 20 hens. All other requirements, such as the space required for each hen and distance from the property lines, must still be met. An additional change to the fencing requirement was also introduced based on the same property size. So properties over 2,000 meters squared are only required to fence a portion of their property where the coop and outdoor enclosure will be located. So once this bylaw is approved, any residential property that meets the requirements will be permitted to participate in the urban hen program. If a resident is interested, they will be provided the animal control bylaw to review the restrictions and requirements and directed to obtain a premises identification number from the province. After setting up the coop and the outdoor enclosure, an officer from the Municipal Enforcement Department will attend the residence and determine that the bylaw is being followed prior to issuing a hen license. And administration is recommending that council provide 3 readings and adopt the bylaw.
Okay, we go to the motion, then we can talk about it after the second reading there. Okay, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? This is for the motion there, and then we can talk about it after the second reading, whatever. Okay, passed. Okay. Okay, need a mover for this motion that bylaw number 2507 be read a second time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. Okay, any questions on 2507? Councillor Wardrop?
Yeah, I do believe that it would be wise to take it back to committee to just address the number of hens that are currently permissible under the bylaw as it is. Just the number of hens, I believe, is is too high for an urban setting, and we should take another look at that, just to make sure that we balance potential complaints from neighbors, noise, waste, odor, and the distance away from other properties.
Okay, any other questions? I think there was one, we're going with the 20, I guess I'll talk to Administration Amy here, but we're going to 20. If we, let's say down the road, if there's a problem, how hard is it to reverse that?
Through the chair to Mayor Petrie, it would be more difficult to reverse the number of hens allowed because well, there's one property that's interested right now, but if they've already purchased their hens and then we say limit it to 10 or 15, then they then have to get rid of those extra hens.
Okay. Councillor Goodenough.
Just for clarification, there's, it's based on up to 20. So bylaw could come in and say, your yard only really meets 12, and then that would be the rule for them. But it's up to 20. It doesn't mean they get 20. It's up to, is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough, that is correct. They still have to meet all other requirements. So if they have let's say just over 2,000 meters squared and other items on their property, like you said, they may only get 12. They have to provide a certain amount of space for each hen and then a certain distance from the property line. So when municipal enforcement does attend, they would put a cap on the number of hens that are permitted for that property.
Councillor Goodenough, then Councillor Wardrop.
Just a follow-up question to that. How did we come to that number then of the size of a hen? Like a size of the coop of the area?
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough, I got that information when the pilot program was first introduced, and I believe I got it from other municipalities that have similar programs. I can't say for certain that it's a provincial requirement, but for sure it was similar to other municipalities.
Councillor Wardrop.
I believe acting CAO Romans is correct. It is a provincial. I think it's a provincial regulation. The other thing I want to mention is that the number 20 came from a well-intentioned effort to accommodate a specific resident, and so the number 20 just kind of came from that. There were no other municipalities in Alberta that allow more than 6, and that's one reason that I do believe that we should go back and take another look at that. Yes, that's it.
Okay. Did you anything? Go ahead.
Through the chair to Mayor and Council. Originally, when this potential change to the bylaw was presented to Council Committee, there was a suggestion that any requests outside of what's permitted in the bylaw are dealt with by council on a case-by-case basis. So if council wishes to see this go back to council committee, that might be another suggestion that comes forward. So obviously larger properties such as the one that has made this request to have up to 20 could be dealt with accordingly, and then smaller lots located more within the city would be limited to the 6.
Councillor Jessica.
So I don't have so much trouble with the number 20, depending upon the circumstances, as long as they meet the requirements. But one of the other things that came up in the discussion was the property line setbacks. And Councillor Wardrop did, as someone that actually has hens, did have a concern with that as well, which was something that could easily be adjusted within the bylaws that's being proposed now. So maybe we should look at that.
Do we have to send that back, or can how do we do that here? Okay. Okay. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw 2507 animal control be referred to Council Committee for further discussion. Yeah. Okay. All those in favor of that? Who's opposed? Okay, so it's carried. Yep. Okay. Okay, this is Fire Services Fees Bylaw. Need a mover for this motion here, that bylaw 2517, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 2305, being a bylaw to establish rates to be charged in relation to fire prevention, inspection, suppression, and rescue services, be introduced and read a first time. Mover for that motion. I need a mover for that motion, Councillor Wardrop. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. And then I think we bring it, okay, need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2517 be read a second time. Mover for that motion. Councillor Jessica. Okay, Deputy Fire Chief Barry Okiyama.
Through the chair to your worship and council. Council approved bylaw 2305, the Fire Service Fees Bylaw, on March the 20th, 2023. At that time, the fees were updated to align with the County of Newell and Alberta transportation rates. In 2024, there was an amendment to remain consistent with Alberta transportation rates, and recently the province has increased their rates slightly. Effective April the 1st, 2025, the city's fees are being updated to reflect the changes. Fees for an engine or pumper and or rescue units, the brush buggies, the rapid response units, and tenders or mobile water supply units have increased from $720 per unit per hour to $740 per unit per hour, and command units have increased from $210 per unit per hour to $215 per unit per hour. A slight combined increase of 2.6% to be realized when invoicing of fire services rendered. Therefore, administration is recommending that council provide 3 readings and adopt bylaw 2517.
Okay, any questions? I see none. To the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2517 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. All those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2517 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw 2305 being a bylaw to establish rates be charged in relationship to fire prevention, inspection, suppression, and rescue services be read a third time and adopted. Mover for that motion, Councillor Wardrop. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Questions from the media? Somebody online there, Jordan? Nobody online there. Need a mover for the motion that we go into closed session here. Need a mover for that motion. Councillor Idris. Motions that council close the meeting to the public for agenda item 10A, land matters, as per section 16 of FOIP at 5:18 p.m. All those in favor? Carried.